Are you a technician who wants to set yourself apart? Then the Trusted Technician podcast is for you. I'm Derek Hoferter, coach and trainer at SBE. And on this podcast, we will have experienced HVAC coaches and trainers, as well as top performing technicians, all sharing their tips and strategies to help you be more successful. Hey everybody, this is Coach Derek. The ideas and the strategies that you hear on this podcast come from training and coaching. If you would like access to this coaching, the stuff that you hear these technicians share on this podcast, it's made them super successful. We want to coach and train you. We're going to be coming to a city near you for a live 2-day in person, where you're going to be learning how to have higher average ticket, how to close more opportunities, and how to become the trusted technician. We're coming to cities such as Nashville, Richmond, Virginia Beach, Charlotte, Phoenix, Houston, and Dallas. To learn more, visit sbeodyssey.com. We'd love to see you there. Welcome to another episode of the Trusted Technician Podcast. This is Coach Derek. Today I'm speaking to Steve from Blair. He's out in California, the desert part of California, right, Steve?
Yes.
Yeah, the hot part.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Steve, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So Steve, you're primarily a comfort consultant. You sell people systems. It's good
Yes.
that people need air conditioning there in the desert. How did you get into to doing all this?
Well, I had an uncle that was in the air conditioning business. So when I was a kid, I'd help him, run duct work and run some service calls. And I never thought about it as being a career for me, because I was going to be a rock and roll star, and that didn't work out. But I was always a fix-it kind of guy. Even when I was a little kid, I'd tear stuff apart, see how it works, and put it back together. And I just sat around and I thought, you know what? Well, I'm going to college. Let me go ahead and check out this right here, because I was actually going in to be an engineer. But I love fixing things. And so it kind of led me into that HVAC business.
Okay. So what was your first HVAC job? Where'd you start?
My very first one is in Fort Smith, Arkansas, actually. And I went to a company and they threw me in installing. And oh man, I did want to do it. I'm glad I did the little time that I did, but a technician that just up and quit. And they said, man, we need a body inside that truck. And I said, I got a body, let's go, So they threw me in there and, trial by fire, but I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it.
How long did you install?
Probably about 7-8 months. But when my very first one was install. And then when there's an opening with the truck, I jumped on it.
Okay. When did you kind of make the move into more of the sales, the comfort consultant role?
Well, funny story. I was working on old Ream heat pump system, a split system, and the guy didn't want to fix it. So I have alligator clips and wire nuts. And I mean, it was just a big spaghetti mess every time I opened it up. And I just looked at him. I said, I think I'm running out of tape and everything else that keeps this thing along. You're not doing anything with it. And he just looked at me. He says, Steve, well, what's a new one cost? And I looked at him. I went, I don't know, but I'm a nuts and bolts guy. But if I gave you a price, what would you say? And he goes, yeah, this thing's old. We should replace it. I said, okay. So then I called the office. They gave me a price and I showed him the price. He goes, when can you do it? I said, let's call the office again. Called the office, a week later, boom. And then I thought,
sales, is it that easy?
Well, yeah. I think it's like fishing. It's like the old timers, they're sitting there all day long getting a sunburn, and then some young, kid will show up and throw right where they're throwing and start catching all the fish, So I think basically it's kind of like, priming you a little bit, like you're hooked on it. And then all of a sudden things change, And what I do enjoy about this is there's no real silver bullet that I've found, but there's nuggets all over the place. And if we just listen to our peers and accept the responsibility for our actions, and if we want to be better at our craft and helping customers, I think that's where we really do a deep dive in ourselves and say, hey, is this what I want to do? Am I helping people? But once you get that bug, and it's exhilarating. I don't care if it's a $5,000 sale or a $300,000 sale. It's the same feeling for me every single time.
Yeah. And obviously right? A joke about it being that easy. And
Yeah.
so obviously you do well with it, but what do you think is the hardest part of selling people HVAC equipment? Like, why is it that many struggle and never really find success? Because everyone needs it. It's a product that everyone needs. So what's so hard about it?
Well, I tell you, I think a lot of people, I think rejection might be a number one for a lot of folks. They're afraid of being rejected, like, no, I don't want that or whatnot. So I've been rejected a zillion times, So I think I think a big part of it. And then secondly, I feel that people really, they're not personable. You know what I mean? They're like too cold, too dry, and it's hard to warm up to those types of people as well. I mean, there's a difference between going overboard one way or the other. But in the beginning, I felt like I didn't want to get rejected, And then once I got into the group, I thought, well, this is just business. There's no hard feelings. It's just business. And then money. A lot of people are afraid to actually ask for the money. You have not because you ask not, So I feel like if you don't ask for the money and be proud of what it is, then they're not going to be really susceptible to what you're saying or what you're talking about. And they may just buy a lower price. So there's a lot of nuances and, the reason why people are afraid to do sales.
Yeah. You mentioned a number of things in there, especially money. As equipment goes up, it's only if someone has an issue asking for money, that's only going to get worse for them, right? Because this is something that's getting more and more expensive. So what is your strategy then to get better and to improve?
Well, so far, what's funny is I always said that you can't teach an old dog new tricks, And what I'm really enjoying when I joined up with Blair is SBE, the whole thing that you guys are doing with the coaching and being there in the one-on-ones, because now I'm a coach with the guys, but I really enjoy that part of it because it kind of lets me look on the inside like the OMG. When you do the OMG, you might see some really positive, cool stuff. And then you see some stuff that's like, I don't know. I don't think that's me, but deep down, maybe it is. So I think learning your ego and your pride was very beneficial to me.
Okay. So for guys listening to this, different technicians, different comfort consultants, and maybe they're more of like, oh no, this is hard. I struggle with getting people to open up about their system. I struggle with getting people to tell me, pains and concerns. I feel like I have to have the cheapest price or I have to have discounts in order to get people to give me money.
Sure.
What would you say to that person who's listening on like how to start tackling this to find success with selling equipment?
Well, I will tell you, I've got a few that I'm coaching right now, and just the simple questions. And if I would have known this years ago, this is what did it for him finally. And it took him 2 months is to ask, how long do you want to get out of this unit? Or how long do you want this unit to last? I think it's so impactful for him because once he said that, the lead went from him to me. I go over there and it's a done deal. And he called me up afterwards and said, I can't believe how easy that was. And I told him, yeah, well, you were a chicken for 2 months. For 2 months, we've been working on this. But now he doesn't care about the money or anything else. He starts asking specific questions that we've been working on. And once you get over that hurdle, then that just opens a dialogue. And then you could dive deeper into what that person's thought process is at that point. Because 90% of the time, they don't know how long they last.
Yeah, let's dive into that because I agree. That is a really, really important question. And it's funny you say that because a lot of technicians or comfort consultants don't ask it because they think it's like a weird question or something like that. Yeah, or it's silly. It's a silly question. So why is it such an important question? Like, what are you doing with the info and the answer to that question?
Well, as far as on the technical side, when you ask that question and you see what needs to be done to hopefully carry that across that finish line of their set time that they're wanting to get out of it, then you start building a case, like, hey, you said that you wanted to get a couple more years out of this. Am I right? Yeah. Well, we've got some issues, and I think that's going to kind of hamper that. We're not going to see that finish line or hit your goal of a couple of years unless we address these, that kind of situation. So, but I think it opens a dialogue to where you could kind of dive deeper, but it doesn't have to sound salesy. You look at it, you tell them, how old do you think this is or whatever? Or you look at the unit, they ask you, say, how old is it? Then you look and you give them the year. They go, oh, okay. Well, it's only 12 years old. Well, do you know how long these last? No, how long do they last? And then you start asking them those magical questions because they don't know. They really don't know. They could have bought the house 15 years ago and that system's already 22 years. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah, I agree. One, your point, oftentimes people don't even know the age of their system. They don't know how long they're supposed to last.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know that there's things that they could do to influence how long does it last. And then maybe they haven't just ever thought about their goals. They're at the house. So I agree. It's such a great question. What do you do with the person though that's just very, I don't know. How do you handle that type of a homeowner?
Well, I tell you, going through this program, it used to bug me and I would kind of give up and say, nah, whatever. But going through this program, and I've been doing this a long time, I'm starting to enjoy the cat and mouse and I get behind them, so I hang out and I'm right behind them. And hey, if you don't care, I don't care. Well, what do you want me to do for you? I'm here. You're paying me to be here. What do you want me to do? Kind of thing, And usually when people are standoffish like that, there's personalities that are like that, no doubt. But also there could be someone that just doesn't want to hear bad news or they think you're going to get into their pocket, but it's really their fault. The reason why we're in their pocket because they're not taking care of their system or whatnot, But being behind them, it really makes everything so much easier, knowing when to do that and just stay there.
Well, that's good. Kind of an interesting switch topics a little bit. So obviously you have a long background in HVAC, working your way up, install all the way through. Others arrive at the spot that you're in now as comfort consultant with no HVAC background at all, right? They wouldn't be able to do any of the repairs, but they're great at selling systems. They're actually like really, really good. Do you feel like your specific background helps you, or are there times when it actually maybe gets in your way?
I personally feel that at times it can get my way. So that's where I'm learning. My ego's not my amigo, so I was like a super tech, right? And I can fix everything. And so I thought people enjoyed my knowledge, but they didn't care. They don't care. The other day I sold a pretty big project and by the end of it, he's all signed up, deposit, all that. And he goes, what'd I buy anyways? It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go back through that. And I did that specifically because I didn't want to go into the C or the E or the HSP, how things work. I just wanted to kind of roll that through and see. And he bought one of the best systems and he didn't even know what he got. So I think that sometimes the techie part, too techie, no checky, really plays a big part.
I might make the title of this episode, your ego's not your amigo. Like,
That's awesome.
Yeah, I like that a lot. So Steve, kind of one final area to talk about, because now like you said, you're kind of in a dual role, right? Where you also coach and help out guys. There's a massive shortage in this industry of people moving into being techs, to being salespeople, right? There's a gap. If there's someone listening to this that they're not currently in the trades and maybe they've got an interest, I think we kind of need to help bring more people into this field. So what would sort of be your encouragement as to why someone should sell systems? Why would that be a good career for someone to get into?
Well, people do things for different reasons, but I think that when you get into HVAC, it's tough work, especially out here in the desert, hot. But I think that it depends on the person and what motivates them, what drives them, but being in this career, it's an honest day's work for a great pay. And then once you learn and once you know how to take care of your customers and you're doing things right, the sky's the limit in this industry. There's no limit. The only limit is what we put on ourselves.
I agree. The HVAC industry as a whole needs to, I think, get better at recruiting, right? Showing like the positive benefits of your whole career was, and it's allowed you to have a good life, and everything. And I think a lot of people are missing out, or they give it a try. They don't find immediate success, and that
Yeah.
discourages them also, right?
Well, I find that in this day and time, the younger generation, and I don't mean to talk bad about the younger generation, but it's more of an instant gratification. And this is more of a long haul type of career. And it's been a great career. My houses are paid off, my vehicle. I mean, I'm, going on vacations, kind of like living a dream. I could do whatever I want to do, but it is hard work, but it's honest. It's an honest work. And at the end of the day, you're helping somebody, you're changing the way they feel inside their home. And that's really powerful if you let it be.
I love it. Thank you, Steve. Thanks so much for joining our podcast and sharing with everybody.
Sure. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the Trusted Technician Podcast. If you would like to learn more about SBE, you can find us online at sbeodyssey.com. If you enjoyed today's episode, we would appreciate it if you would leave us a review. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.